So hello to everybody. I think that we can open now the session. It's my great pleasure to welcome you here to this beautiful location at CASA to a new edition of our CARNET Insights, a format that is gaining visibility more and more in the community. And this is also due to great guests like you, the three of you that I will introduce now to you, and I don't lose more time, and will read what you gave us to introduce you. So, Professor José Holguin-Veras, welcome very much, is William Hart Professor and Director of the Center for Infrastructure, Transportation and the Environment at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute in New York. He received numerous awards, like the White House Transportation Champion of Change Award, the Milton Pekarsky Memorial Award, and the National Science Foundation Careers Award. His research focuses on freight transportation and humanitarian logistics. He received his PhD from the University of Texas in Austin, and his Master of Science at the Universidad Central de Venezuela. Very much welcome you here, and I'm looking forward to your presentation and to your answers later. So our next guest is Adrià Gomila. He is an industrial engineer and the director of mobility at the Barcelona City Council. He has always carried out his professional activity in relation to mobility, mainly in the Barcelona City Council, where he has held various positions since 2001. And I also very much welcome you, and I'm looking forward to hear your position from the city side.
Okay, thank you.
So, and the last but not least, Professor Dr. Alberto Sanfeliu. He's full professor of computational science and artificial intelligence at the Universitat Politècnica de Catalunya here in Barcelona. He is coordinator of the research group Artificial Vision and Intelligent Systems, VIS, and head of the research line Mobile Robotics of the IRI, the Instituto de Robótica Informática Industrial. He is also president of the Spanish Society for Research and Development in Robotics, and he is former scientific director of the Unity of Excellence Maria Metsu of the IRI, and also former director of the IRI and former director of UPC's Automatic Control Department and past president of the Spanish Association of Pattern Recognition. So very much welcome you also very warm here to this event. During the next hour, where I'm very much looking forward, we will talk about the news in last mile urban distribution. Last mile distribution affects all of us, I think, and we all now know what last mile distribution means. Because the ones who didn't know it yet, during the last 2 years, we all experienced that it affects us. But last mile distribution affects the normal distribution, I think, in a new way, introducing new modes and new issues of the people and of the users. And with e-commerce, that also raises or has risen the last 2 years also, and still climbs with revenues reaching $1.5 trillion in Europe. There are new patterns that will be introduced in the delivery system, which is not yet or was not prepared in the last 30 years in this sense, I think. The average share of e-commerce users, it is an interesting fact, in Europe today is of 53%. But this is the average in Europe. For the most mature markets, it's even higher. It's higher than 60% of e-commerce users. So imagine what these new issues are about to affect us and to impact in the distribution, not only in the traffic, but also in climate and in everything. So we will talk today about challenges of online orders, of short delivery times, of crowd shipping and overlap, of customer time windows perhaps, but also, and most important perhaps, also on new delivery technologies, like autonomous ground vehicles. I don't know if you follow CARNET. Last Friday we had in Esplugas the presentation of our ground vehicle, which we developed also together with Alberto Sanfeliu. And it was like a great event. We presented this ONA to the Minister of Transportation, to the National Minister of Transportation, but also other kind of vehicles that you see today in the city are around to deliver with patinetes, so with step scooters, with bicycles, and so with new light ways to move parcels also around. Because parcels are also in a new dimension. They are lighter, they are less in volume, and so these are the issues and challenges that we are going to discuss today. To open our round table here, we will do it like in the following way. I will ask our invitees like 3 questions that they will answer, and after this round, I will open like to a Q&A to the audience. Okay? So let's start with the first question, and I start with you, Adria. What are the requirements, or what requirements are necessary to enable the distribution of last mile in the city?
I think that the requirements should push 2 main objectives. In one hand, to be an activity with a high efficiency. It's necessary that all the activity in the city, economical activity, but also any activity, needs a high efficiency goods distribution. Okay, and this is every day and every year. It's becoming a more clear evidence, because every time there are more activities that depend on an efficient logistic. Okay, this is in one hand. The other hand is that it's necessary to reduce the externalities or the impact that this activity, this distribution activity, has over the rest of the city. Okay, and this is a very wide range of impacts. It's about air quality, it's about noise, it's about accidents, it's about use of public space, and there's a long list. Okay, so in my opinion, we need to develop these 2 objectives in parallel, and I think that we are lucky. We are lucky. Why? Because there are objectives that can be complementary one each other. If one deliver it's made in a not efficient way, there's a higher impact over the city, because it needs to go 3 times. No efficiency. The lack of efficiency lacks or increases the impacts, the bad impacts. Okay, so I think that, in my opinion, the main idea is to develop systems that improve these 2 aspects, and it's possible. It's not opposite objectives.
Thank you. Yeah, very interesting. So, Jose, what do you think about the requirements?
I think basically what Adrian says is quite correct. I will also need to add that we also need to keep an eye on unintended effects that goes beyond the traditional negative externalities produced by traffic. One of the things that we have found is that there is some sort of co-evolution between the new technologies and the demand. Think about e-commerce. Basically, in 2009, basically was the first time that we collected data about the generation of e-commerce purchases in the US. Basically, the rate of, let's say, for the rate per person per day, number of orders per day was 0.04. Basically, for every 25 citizens in the US, one internet delivery was made in a single day. If we roll the clock forward, nowadays, in the city of New York, for instance, the rate of generation is 0.25. That means for every 4 individuals, one internet delivery is made. In the city, in the metropolitan area of New York, from 20 million people, in 2009 was basically times 0.04 is basically about 100,000 deliveries. Nowadays, at 0.25 is 5 million. You see, in essence, what we see here is that an explosion of the demand. And somehow we need to manage that. In essence, technologies tend to, when they lead to reduction in cost, basically they lead to an explosion of deliveries. And that's something we need to manage.
Yeah.
And that's why you see, and with COVID, basically, that rate from 0.25 jumped to 0.29. You see, in essence, we need to manage that.
Yeah.
That's important in the longer term.
That's true. Alberto, what's your opinion on that?
Well, my perspective is different from yours because I am designing the robots and I am trying to put navigation in these robots in the city. And we have another requirements, more technical requirements, and more city requirements, because actually, from the perspective of moving a mobile robot, a ground robot, with wheels or with legs, it has to move in a surface that is prepared for that. And that is okay now that the cities are prepared for wheelchairs. And then that means that they're prepared for putting this kind of robots. But if we are talking about ground robots, if we're talking about flying robots, there is not this restriction, but there is another restrictions. For example, obstacles, the trees are obstacles, the cables are obstacles. And actually, at present, at least in Europe, it's not allowed to fly drones in the city for parcel distribution, for example. That is one of the requirements, but we need more requirements. We need actually then the communication, the connectivity with the robots and the different centers work well. And that is something that is okay, that is quite good. But still there is some missing on this point that has to be improved in the cities. There are more issues about that. For example, if we are talking about distribution with a swarm of robots, that means not only one robot, several robots that go in a van and stops in a place, this van, and then from that go out and go to distribution and then return back to this van and then go back to the warehouse. Then we need additional technical requirements for that. And also, finally, I will talk about the call center. I say, when we are thinking to have this robot in the city, we need a call center where it's going to be doing the routing of all the parcel routing. And actually, also, if there is something happens to a robot, then typically that is going to happen, then the robot stops in a place because there is a hole or there is a barrier, then someone has to take control of that. And that is going to be from the control center. And actually, not only that, could be that we need some people in the place to go and pick up the robot. That is what is usually done at present with the autonomous taxis that are driving not here, but in other cities, in US and in other countries. And that is things that we have to think about it, okay?
Thank you. Thank you. So I will direct the next question also to you, to start with you. What changes involve the distribution of last mile products in the current delivery system? What do you think?
Well, there are different issues here that has to be taken into account. As I told before, at present, I mean, there are hubs. There is these satellites. I don't know what is exactly the name that is used. Then where from the big warehouse, they bring the van to these hubs, and they put in lockers the material that you probably know in the e-commerce. There is a typically done. And at present, there are already in the cities, there are trials that are being tested that are from these hubs, that could be a parking lot or could be another place. They go with the bicycles or whatever the riders pick up the goods and distribute. That will be in the future with these autonomous platforms. That will be in one place. That could be, for example, a parking lot, and they will be the place then they will charge, and then also they will pick up, there will be the distribution of the goods, and from there they will distribute in the last mile, and that will be the center of distribution. But actually, when they do that, they have to do the distribution, but probably they also will collect some waste and will come back with that to the same place. And that will be a collector, a garbage collector in some way, that could be also done. And there are other possibilities that are going to happen on that. And also, as I said before, there's going to appear new jobs. The new jobs is the call center, the maintenance, and also others than when we have been studying where the new roles that is going to happen when you include robots and human at the same time, they're going to appear at least 7 types of categories. And the last one is the bystander. The bystander or the pedestrians. And the pedestrians are part of the play, because the robots are going to be in a pedestrian area and they have to stop, or they have to take another change the trajectory. And the pedestrian has to know that has to trust on them, on the robots. And that is an issue that we don't know now. When we do trials in the cities, we realize on that. But it's something that the people don't know at all. And they have to be culturized on that. And that is kind of issues that we have, that we're going to be changed, not only the distribution, not only logistics, but also the way that the people is thinking at present, how the tasks are going to be done. And in the future, this distribution will be, now we're thinking about last mile distribution. But in the future, I don't know when, probably we will have our own robots. And then our robot will be in our house, or will be in our shop, or will be wherever. And that could be that this robot will be sent to pick up something in some place and transport it to one place that we want to assign. And that will be another way. That is the next part of this distribution. And that will have a lot of implication in the city, that's clear.
Yeah, because everyone will have his robot like walking with them, right? So what do you think, Jose, about like the new distribution with autonomous platforms or with new products?
I think that because of the gravity of the climate change, basically cities will be forced to implement relatively drastic measures. In NASA, using satellites measurements, estimate that 70% of the CO2 produced from fuel is produced in cities. Because cities and metropolitan areas, it's not only the urban core, it represent, economic powerhouses. The top 600 cities and metropolitan areas produce 60% of the global GDP. In essence, there is tremendous, as you can see, 60% of the GDP produced by top 600 metropolitan areas, 70% of CO2 produced metropolitan areas. In essence, we are going to be forced to reconcile the economic prowess of metropolitan areas with the tremendous environmental impacts. And that is going to be a tremendous challenge that goes beyond logistics in the sense. We need to be prepared to transform the economic nature of our cities. In what way? Land use. we just finished a major study on what we call freight efficient land uses. And the reality is that in most cases, in most cities have land use patterns that are not conducive to efficient logistics. Why do I mention that? Well, the reality is that there are multiple sources of economic inefficiencies and environmental inefficiencies that the previous speaker have alluded to. But some of the most significant are related to land use. In the sense, we need to foster compact supply chains. Mm-hmm. If we have supply chains crisscrossing the metropolitan area, as is typically happening in many cities, in which you have the port in this side, distribution centers on the other sides of the city, and manufacturing somewhere else, basically the amount of externality produced is gigantic. And on top of that, there are other factors. Climate change belongs to one of the most complicated subjects in game theory. Climate change is what we call a collective action problem. It's a problem in which the incentive of the players that could solve the problem do not align with the solution of the common good. And basically that also has implications for logistics, and same as basically the political system that regulates this. In essence, I see that there will be a need to use basically sophisticated policies. Complex problems, congestion is one of them, complex problems like congestion, climate change and the like, they defy simple solutions. There are no magic bullets. There is no single basically solution that will be produce the intended effect. What I see developing is sophisticated solutions that encompass technology, changes in land use, and also demand patterns. If we have like a 6-tuple increase in e-commerce in the US in basically 13 years, I mean, this is impossible to cope by supply side interventions. I have been working in transportation for more than 40 years, and I do not know of any policy that produces 2, 3, 4 times the capacity to distribute. I don't know that exists. In essence, the only way to cope with this gigantic increase in the number of delivery is demand management, inducing people like you and me to basically reduce our demand patterns. Mm-hmm. Because supply side, either from the technology or the network or the roads, will not cope.
Mm. Yeah, okay. So this is, yeah.
Quite a load.
Yeah, quite a lot, and also to reduce our demand patterns, I don't know. But yes, Adria, you will have perhaps also something to announce on that. that fits.
Yes, well, I'm going to answer the question, trying to make some links, okay?
Yes.
And explaining
yes, for sure.
in same times what is our strategy or what are we doing, okay, to trying to make these 4 things in the same way. Answer, link, and explain our strategy. I think that the most important thing to try to answer these questions is, going to that objectives, is to make a really good public-private collaboration. Yeah. Why? Because this is a private activity, and we need to put some public regulations for the general interest, okay, to a private activity. So we can make these regulations only from the public sector side, okay. But I think this is not a good idea, because the ones who know their activity are those privates. So I think that we have made a diagnosis of the situation. We have prepared some basic strategy, And now we are going to share this strategy to this sector to define, to make the final definition of this strategy. And this is not only to put public regulations, also is to detect where is more necessary that the administration helps those activities, but not only help just putting money to everybody. No, trying to incentivize those behaviors or activities that complains that the two, in my opinion, main objectives: the efficiency of the activity and reduce these negative impacts. And trying to make a link with this, you said the how to about the demand, okay? That if it's necessary or not necessary to make some actions over the demand. In my opinion, the main aspect about the demand is how that demand is supplied. This is not the same. This is not the same. If I ask for, I don't know, a bottle of water, and I ask, and they bring me that bottle in 1 hour or 2 hours, or if I ask for water, and it's maybe water it's necessary to drink before, but and there are 3 days, 3-day periods. So if we it's important that the behavior of the demand about these objectives. Okay, so in my opinion, when the public administrations we are helping some or incentivize some actions, we should incentivize those actions that has benefit for this public objective. And finally, about this, what to do about this? What should be? I don't know. I have my idea. What should be the position of the public administration about these very innovative ideas and projects and so on? 2 ideas. It is my opinion. First of all, we should provide a physical scenario to allow tests and so on to build this far future. Okay, and second, I think that we must provide this basic scenario, but I think we should look for these short-term benefits, because if you are developing all of this, you are developing some slides, some aspects that are necessary for build this future. For example, how do you identify the different goods or things, or I don't know, the strategy and so on. So I think that from the public sector point of view, give the chance to make this test and try to take advantage and get some short-term benefits, just maybe taking some piece of this, and I think that apply this to this general strategy, okay, and maybe be ready to this long-term future, but there are some pieces that you are developing now that could be in a short-term benefit. Not only I repeat, it's the last time I hope, the same idea. Not only for reduce the negative impacts, also to increase the efficiency of the activity. This is my opinion about this.
Yeah, thank you. So, but you also wanted to say something about the strategy of the city, right? So
Always. Okay. Yes. Thank you.
so perhaps it's now the time before starting to
we
be
have
more technical again.
we have presented this basic strategy. I say basic. I like to say basic because now, next week and in the next some months, we are going to make several meetings with this distribution sector and the different actors and so on, with the idea to have, we will say, the Barcelona goods distribution strategy. I don't know the name it has, but there are some. It's a basic strategy, okay? Because then there are a lot of good initiatives, very good initiatives from different universities, companies, other administrations. Okay, so try to make an agreement. What are the best practices on this, and we are working with other administrations, trying to find this agreement and taking other works already done, and we are going to help those activities that follow that strategy. So we are trying to help the private sector to that their activity it's very the most near possible of this strategy, knowing that this is a very complex world with a lot of different activities, very different one at each other, with a very high-speed evolution. There's something very easy, but 10 years ago, most of the deliveries were made in the floor stage. Okay? Now there are a lot of deliveries that are in the first, second, third. Things is changing in hospital, in houses, in I don't know, everywhere, and well, so this should be a basic strategy because there are a lot of different actors that will play, we hope, this strategy, and should be dynamic because this is changing very quick.
Yeah, thank you. So I like very much the idea of public-private collaboration, as we at CARNET are public-private institute. So yes, I'm looking very much forward to this. So Jose, in your lectures, you also often mention also this thing that technology and new technologies that we are seeing now on the streets are not a solution, right? Yeah. So they are part of the solution, but not the solution itself. And you also refer to comprehensive management.
Yeah.
So can you perhaps also like...
Basically, let me start with like a look back.
Yeah.
Basically, let's take the example of recycling. Recycling had been a success, notwithstanding the scandals that happened in some industry that basically some companies were not doing what they're supposed to do. But recycling provides a very important example. Recycling has been a success worldwide because it began with inducing changes in the behavior of the consumers. I remember 45 years ago, I was basically at a meeting at the city government in Santo Domingo, and I remember a person who told me we could only reduce the waste problems if the citizens collaborate with us. I remember thinking in my naivete of my young years that this guy was discharging his responsibility. He's basically blaming the consumers for the shortcoming of his job. And over time, I understood that he was right. Because if we do not recycle our waste, it's very difficult to make a recycling program successful. And that model, and I decided to discuss it, why recycling has worked? Because it entails changes in the behavior of people like you and me. the development of new technologies to do the actual recycling, the development of new logistic concepts, new supply chains, and overall. In essence, this is the type of approaches that provide some insight on what should be done with the urban logistics. In essence, we need new technologies. You need to do changes in the demand. Basically, think about the following. I asked the audience here, what % of all your deliveries of hours is truly urgent? 1%? 5%? But we all love to get our gadgets as fast as possible. The implication is if we all do that, we are adding tremendous pressure on the system to deliver quickly. And delivering quickly goes against sustainability because the carriers cannot consolidate goods. Without changes in our demand, that could be done as we did with recycling by education. I remember when I was 18 years, I didn't give a damn about basically garbage, all of that. Now, if I don't find, a recycling bin, I feel bad.
Yeah.
You see, and I do all the way to, and the point is that we need something like this. Among other things, as you can see, in essence, many of the new technologies that are being deployed tend to triumph in the market because they lower the short-term cost of deliveries. In essence, we need to somehow counteract. In essence, we need to complement the development of new technologies with policies to educate people like you and me on basically how to use technologies for because in essence, we cannot basically, if we fall in this trap of convenience, this is basically one of the reasons why basically we are going to kill, the planet in which we live. And somehow, the price of the convenience cannot be a detriment of the environment. And somehow, what we need to have is to have comprehensive policies, as we did in recycling, changes in behavior, new technologies, new logistical systems, et cetera, Because again, with the gravity of the crisis of climate change, in essence, we need to change course.
Would you like to add something on that, Alberto?
Well,
because you're on the opposite side of the... is another one, because I am talking from the point of view of these autonomous vehicles for distribution. What I can say, it is something that at present most of this delivery is done in the morning or on the day. But actually, with autonomous robots, could be that we can part of it doing at night. Yeah. But that implies to change some infrastructure in the houses, in the shops, because actually the robot will go to, for example, to a house, a private building, and we do deliver directly in besides the door, and automatically that will be distributed to some lockers inside of the buildings. And that could be one way to solve part of the congestion, reduce a lot of. And that means that actually at night that will be much easier. No congestions, the noise will be very low, and there is no problem with the pedestrians, and there are many other issues that can be solved with this strategy. But that is, again, a way to change the mind of the people and how we're thinking that the distribution has to be done. And what you say that if the people required to go too fast, it's not sustainable. That's I completely agree. But that is another way, looking that the distribution can be 24 hours. And that could make a big change on and thinking about this kind of distribution, flexible, autonomous cars, small robots, so autonomous robots that can be immediately distributed, whatever is required, but with an efficient way, because that could be, then it can be done in that way. No? And I mean that, I don't know, I say, I agree with you, but you say it. So yes, thank you. So now I think we have time to open this session to the public and to the audience. And please, so if you have questions, we have a mic there. Just raise your hand and come forward with a question. Yes?
Always the first.
That's
Okay.
good, Celeste.
Okay, one of the strategies that we can implement in cities to increase the efficiency and also decrease the externalities, as you mentioned before, is to implement these urban consolidation centers. So my question mainly goes to the City Council of Barcelona. Is this integrated in your strategy for the city? When do you think we can have this? Thanks.
Yes, of course, it's integrated, and it's integrated in two levels. This is one of the we call front-run action, or and we are now developing some of them. Okay, and but well, now here it's another part of this public-private collaboration, is that how much action from the public sector should be done. Okay, and our idea is not to become a logistic operator and doing things like this. Okay, it's just to begin this. Well, I say begin, but we will not be the first one doing this, because all the logistic operator use these consolidation centers. Okay, but the idea is some space that is used by more than one operator. Okay, that they share the space, they consolidate the deliveries to one destination, and when I say consolidate, means that the different providers making just one deliver to that building. Okay? So here is the step forward, a difficult step forward, and well, at first level we are just making some of them public, okay, but the idea is that in the future they will be managed by logistic operators. So maybe at first step will be a public tender, and maybe 3 of them are managed by one logistic operator, another by another one, and maybe at the end it will be no necessary public supply of anything. It would be just inside the market rules that they work like this, because if at the end is really efficient, because you can overpass all the problems that these centers have. At the end, it will be good for the economic dynamics. So the answer is yes. In the first level, public, and in the second level, trying to push that the private sector do this.
Thank you. So here, there's another question, or 2 questions here. The mic.
Hi, this is Francesc Robuster, Professor of Transportation. Adrià, you only implemented one of these consolidation centers, like 20 years ago, Sant Andreu Microplataforma, Logística, the Sant Andreu Logistics Platform. I'm not going to put the finger on your
No.
But any city should understand that these facilities are part of the city. Logistics has always been the Cinderella of mobility, the Cinderella, la Ventafocs, la Cenicienta. In the same way that we build squares, libraries, or whatever, we need to build these things. It's part of the blood circulation system of the city. And this costs money, of course. But you can do many other things. without investing any money, like approving the local laws, ordenanzas, approving to have a minimum inventory in the shops, something that you didn't dare to do 20 years ago, since 20 years ago. If we have less inventory, the economic order quantity, we have more transportation and more problems. But my comment was not related to the city, it was related to Professor Sanfeliu. And let me tell you that I admire your contributions to the robotics. But not everything that is possible is useful. And we don't need to implement everything that is possible. It's not a need, it's not a must. It could be. In the year 2000, the Segway was on the cover of Time magazine, the year 2000. We all knew that was a mistake. Mistake in the sense that this cannot be implemented in a large scale. They were. I remember that paper, that comment, saying that they were saying that this is going to be the invention of the 21st century. We're going to sell more Segways than computers. I remember that because I thought these people are completely crazy. They don't know what they are talking about. Something that is very vulnerable, very little maneuverable, can go at 40 kilometers per hour. Where are we going to put it in the city? You cannot put it with the pedestrians. You're going to put it with the traffic. And then we have seen, after 20 years, that we were right. Was a mistake. Even though we can see some, but very few proportion. Something, a robot, an autonomous robot. I'm pretty sure that in the future, when you say, but I'm not going to see this, no? Maybe in 50 years, in 100 years, when everybody has like iRobot, no? This Isaac Asimov, everybody has the little robot at home, then maybe yeah. But in this transition means several decades. I don't see that. If we're going to put these autonomous delivery devices on the pedestrian sidewalks, this is a mistake. Right? We're getting rid of motorcycles or bicycles, these personal mobility devices, and now we're going to put these little things. Doesn't make any sense. If we're going to put this on the bicycle lanes, it doesn't make any sense either. They are going too slow. There are going to be obstacles, whatever. If we put these little things on the traffic lanes, it doesn't make any sense. It only makes some sense, as you said, if we use this at night. But if we're going to use this at night, it doesn't make any sense either in this transition of 2 or 3 decades. Because what we should do is what Professor Jose Holguin-Veras implemented in New York 10 years ago, 12. And he got a prize in 2010. Is the off-hour night delivery unattended of our delivery. At night, why are you going to use a robot when you can use a van and parking at the door? It doesn't make any sense. So instead of saying you must change the cities and the citizens have to change the mentality, no, maybe we should try to tackle a problem with the right technology. That's it.
Thank you. So there was no question,
yes,
but
I want to tell something.
Alberto and then Adrià.
No.
I want to tell something. I agree and I don't agree. I think there are many different types of cities. Some cities are very dense, other cities are less dense, or rural parts, and there is very different solution for each one. And then I see, and then if you talking about very dense cities, could be. Then there are some problems that has to be solved in another ways. But in another cities that are not so dense, that will be a very good solution. And with respect to that of what you say about the seedway, okay, the seedway is a technology that actually I think it has not been working well. Not because it is a big vehicle, not vehicle, but artifact or whatever, then can move because probably it is not, it is controlled the stability. It is not well suited for many people. And it's more for that than other reasons. But if you take a look in the, I don't know how, the patinete, the
e-scooter.
Yeah, okay.
Step scooter.
The scooter, okay. And that is a very good solution, although you can see that everybody now has that and has produced another kind of problems. But it's a very good solution. And could be that it is the way to go in these small vehicles of transportation. Very small, then can be parked anywhere, then you can pick up and put that in another place, and that could be the robot. Because you don't need at all to have a 4-wheel, 6-wheel robot for transportation. You can use this one with only 2 wheels, and that could be enough. And there are many, many different kinds of technologies that can be applied. Actually, what I think it is many of our motorcycles, cars, bicycles will use technology that we are using at present in robots for moving around. And that will be mixed together between autonomous and semi-autonomous. And that will be the way to go. And that will be possible to solve many of the problems that we are talking about. And with respect to where these robots has to go, okay, I think they have to be, that is a big issue. That is clear, there's a big issue. But some of them could be in the street completely because, I mean, the city is now changing the rules of the velocity that you can go. Most, you can see 30 kilometers per hour instead of 50 kilometers per hour. Many of the city will be pedestrians. Big parts will be pedestrian areas. In these parts, then you can use this kind of robots, small ones, not big ones. But in another big rural areas, then you have to use a big one. There are different solutions, and I think we will see that not very far from now. That's what I say.
I'm going to answer the other things, but just one idea about this interesting speech. I think that technology is a contribution and not a solution. And for me, it's the same I said before. All the deployment of the technology to find the solution can be useful, one part of this technology to other solutions. About platforms, logistic platforms in the city, yes, I don't know, 20 years ago, we made a first trial in San Andreu. Then I think we learned what not to do. Okay, we learned, I think, really important lessons there. After that, it has been working up above for 10 years. A platform in Estació de França. I don't know if it's anyone. I have to translate this, França Station. And well, it has been working with, we put the space, a temporary space, okay? And it has been working under the market laws. Other logistic operators paying for each deliver and so on. And now with next generation funds, we have a project to put in service 10 more platforms in the city, but always saying that we are not going to do this business. We are not trying to make a public business about this. Okay, try to begin with this. And about the local regulations, there are some regulations about space needed for logistics and so on in big stores and so on. And now we are developing. This is a very interesting way of work. to develop, and now we are changing the regulation to allow the logistic operation in parkings, in off-street parkings. We are changing this about urban rules and so on, because it's necessary to do some change to have this activity, this full activity in these very useful infrastructures we have in the city, in these parkings off-street.
Yeah. Thank you. And Jose, you also wanted to...
I wanted to make a comment regarding the... I think basically the city has a very important role to play in freight land use. Because basically the city of Barcelona is interested in doing a long-lasting change. I would say the main focus should be on land use, trying to foster compact supply chains. Why do I say that? Efforts like associated with urban consolidation centers could help, but they are typically constrained by the amount of space that is very small. Just to give you some numbers, I would expect that in a city like Barcelona, for every person living here, there is, I would say, between 30 to 35 kilograms of supplies delivered every single day. 30 to 35. Mm. Now, what are the implications of that? I multiply this by the number of people, and you get the number of the amount of cargo. Now, 1 metric ton of supplies require 25 square meters of space. Now, when you do that, basically, you easily find out that the amount of space needed to storage is gigantic. You see, and somehow you need to, it's not only one UCC that you need a lot more. And basically trying to foster compact supply chains, doing like the city of Paris doing, that they have basically, it's not only one, they have like hundreds, mini urban distribution centers, is a better way, it's important. Because in essence, you need to provide facilities that allow bigger vehicles to penetrate into the metropolitan area, and from that deliver using sustainable vehicles. But that requires space. But keep remember, I would say all of you remember these numbers, basically 30 to 35 kilograms per person per day, and then the 25 square meters that you need to handle this. And basically, this is a key factor. And try to foster that. You do not have necessarily to pay for the infrastructure. If you make the land use friendly to the logistic companies and the carriers and the manufacturers, they will invest in that. And you only have to set the table, and they will come to it.
This is the idea. And not only we are only the big city inside a metropolitan area, and we're not alone. The land use, we are a lot of factors here.
Yeah,
of course.
For sure. Mm-hmm, of course. So I think that we have time for another question. So one, yes, perhaps yes. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yes, I'm Luis Alegre, from Mobility Director from the Metropolitan Transport Authority. There was two ideas and a question. Two ideas that you have said, the opponents say. One is education. Mm-hmm. I remember about recycling. I was working in Tarrasa. There was a competition between neighborhoods to improve the recycling because it was very bad. It was incredible how improved, because there was a competition between neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. And it was one of the worst cities, and my colleagues that they work on cycling, not me, they have this idea, and it was a really big improvement. So I think education needs leadership. Yeah. And that goes to the second question, that it was for me a little bit strange words. I'm not absolutely with Adria about the idea of there is something, it's changing. We have to regulate logistics currently. And maybe 40 years ago, no. It's something that is changing. Then my question is asking you, not you, the three of us, but because you have made me think about that. No? Because the last 10 years I've been thinking we should regulate, we should make taxes, we should make things but all about a new regulation in the Catalan government, and then in the cities, and then I don't know. And also at the end, also you have an opportunity with the new urban planning of the metropolitan area. No? But my question is about that. What do you think, the three of us, about increasing regulation in the logistics, increasing in a hard way, not a little bit, little thinking we have to go and then begin to regulate these logistics with laws and things like that.
Yeah, perhaps short answers and we start here.
This is my question. No, the other was more...
Well, basically, we have undertaking global research on the effect of regulations, and the conclusion that we have is that regulations are needed in case the behavior of an agent is not consistent with what is social optimal. What we have found is that in the case of the carriers, the companies, the trucking companies making deliveries, they are interested in what? They are interested in minimizing the cost of deliveries, minimizing travel time, and they are also interested in maximizing the use of the vehicles. This is how they make money. But what is social optimal? Minimize travel and congestion, maximizing the use of the vehicles. Mm-hmm. In essence, the carriers are already doing given the constraints posed by the receivers and public regulation, they are doing the social optimum. In fact, all what we have studied, including simulation data, indicate that there are a set of regulations have a role to play in some circumstances in which they are not following the social optimal policy. In many cases, what they have found, the carriers are transporting cargo in the day hours, not because they enjoy traveling congestion, it's because the customers demand it. If they have, you see, the size of the decision pertaining to vehicle type, time of travel, route, are basically social optimal. If they produce too many externalities, then it's not because they want to produce it. They have been forced typically by the customers. And that's something I would suggest you to consider. You see, be careful with regulations.
Adrià, please keep it short, also because of time.
Okay. I think, as I said before, this is let me say, a game, okay, a chess game. The administration defines the table, the playing table, the rules, but the players are privates. So what can we do? We must put some regulations. This is our authority, our responsibility, okay? And in my opinion, also some incentivate some actions, okay? And I put two examples about this, the problem or the benefit on make a regulation. And I think that if the strategy is shared with the private sector, we will find these good rules and good incentivation carrots. Okay? And let me put two examples that if we convince, sometimes it's the private that ask us to put some rules. The time that is allowed in the spaces for load and unload in the streets. Okay, so we have now 30 minutes is the time allowed there. Okay, more than 30 minutes, you get a fine. If we take out this time limit, they want this time limit because they need a hike rotation. I don't know now. Okay, and another example is that you say will you pay if we give you some service in the public space that allow you to be more efficient? And this, let me say, not formal survey, most of them, they say yes. So if we put some tax that, let me say, it's in a good direction, they agree with this, because they don't like to be in the congestion. They don't like to get fines. They don't like, and they, okay, I would pay if I have some minimum level of quality in my activity in the city. So I think that we should put some regulations. There are regulations, more regulations, more carrots, maybe taxes, but for me, this is not the important thing, the tools. The important thing is that anything we do is in the aligned with the strategy of increase the efficiency and reduce the externalities.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Very good. Alberto.
Well, actually, I have almost nothing to say because I am not an expert on that. And the only thing that what I can say, it is when we put autonomous robots in the city, the first thing is they have to be allowed to be on the city. That is something that is not allowed at all. That is the thing. And what we have now in the Logismile project, and we make a demonstration last week in Esplugas. It is we have included the general, the DGT, the Directory of the General Traffic, in order to approve some. It has to be, approve the vehicle as this autonomous robot as an autonomous robot. That is something that we are doing that, and also we did some work with the City Hall of Barcelona that some previous years in order to work on that. But still is something that has to be done. That's all.
Okay, so thank you very much. We came to the end and are like some minutes above of our time schedule. I thank you very much for your attendance here. I think that we have a lot of optimization problems and social optimization problems raised here and left for the future. So all of you have work on that. And just thank you very much for coming and have a good evening.